Aloha, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this month's Next Step program, Revisiting Library Spaces During the Time of COVID. We are about to revisit library spaces 1 year into this pandemic. Last year, a variety of different libraries shared how they revised their library spaces to accommodate social distancing. This time around, we'll be revisiting with some of these libraries to see how their spaces have evolved after 1 year. Please feel free to use the chat for any questions, and I hope we can all learn from each other as Hawaii starts to reopen more.
Excellent, thank you. Let's see, keep going. Okay, so happy pandemic anniversary, everybody. In July of last year, we debuted this Next Step program, and we asked HLA members to share, pictures of their adapted spaces. And this is when most libraries are still pretty closed. So it was really good for a lot of us to see how people are making changes and adapting to social distancing. Well, year in, the purpose of this revisiting program is to see have things changed, what has changed now that we're kind of the state is kind of reopening soon. So we'll just recap and show some of last year's pictures, and if there were any revised spaces, we'll share some of that too. And then hopefully at the end, we have enough time to have a small discussion about what will library spaces look like as we continue to open more. Okay. So we are currently, Oahu is currently, or Honolulu is in tier 3. So now we can add more, we can have more people a little bit more people can gather. So it's really good. You can go to a bar. You can go to restaurants. So slowly we are kind of getting back to normal. So last year we looked at BYUH. So Michael, if you want, you can maybe talk about your reopening later after this. I'll just show some of the pictures that you showed last year. So let's see. So last year they had, BYUH is still pretty much the same according to Michael. So mask required. I think their hours have been amended. I like this little social distancing example. Plexiglass barriers on cert counters. A lot of their spaces were spaced out to accommodate the social distancing. Furniture was pushed to the side. Sorry, go back. Michael, did you want to say anything more about your spaces? I know you said they're pretty much the same.
Yeah, we're pretty much still under the restrictions. Our hours have changed. We're now open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We're currently finalizing our plan to go back to full service pretty much by the fall.
Wow.
Our campus announced that fall semester will be back to our traditional residential on-campus learning. So we're just about ready to have a phased-in approach to get there, which would mean hours pretty much 8 a.m. to midnight. With the announcement last week, or was it this week, from the CDC, about 3 feet of space being allowed between mask wearing in schools, we're still trying to get some guidance what that specifically would mean for us, but that would obviously increase our capacity and increase the number of people we can have. One of the things that's really helped us out is our aggressive testing program on campus. Everybody, faculty, staff, students, are tested weekly for virus, which allows quick contact tracing and other things. Our campus positivity rate is 10 times lower than the state's. Most of our campus is on the path to immunization. And once that happens, we're looking forward to really opening up. We had our first large-scale event last night in over a year on campus, our campus culture night, which we were able to perform and broadcast, and we had about 700 people in attendance in the activities center. Dancers were 6 feet apart and wearing masks and other things. But all in all, our campus is really on the road by fall to be back to whatever that normal is. We are anticipating mask wearing will continue to be a rule, but the distancing, as we anticipate, may be relaxing a bit.
That's excellent. That's good to know. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Okay, so Wahiawa Public Library. So last year, this is what my library looked like. This first picture, it's pretty much the same. We've got like directions. We're encouraging people to, if they don't want to come in, to just drop their books off in our book drop, open 24/7, and then pickups around the corner on our California Avenue. So this is when we just did curbside pickup, where patrons just walked up and just picked up their materials and then left. You wouldn't let them in. But fall of so this is last year again, and so not much people were allowed to come in. You're only allowed to come in if you wanted to use the computer. So we had to block off the books so that you couldn't browse and borrow just yet. Just use the computer. So this is the situation we have now. We are allowing people to come in, so we no longer do curbside. People can still just come in and just pick up their stuff and go, but you're allowed to, for 45 minutes, browse and borrow, go on the computer, make copies, but you're not able to sit at the moment and congregate or study. And that's something that I've noticed a lot of patrons want to do. They miss coming in and just having a place to go, especially just, so if you're not working or not at home, people want to have a second place to go, and a lot of people like to come to the library. So in the next phase, now that we're slowly opening, hopefully we'll allow them to sit and gather a little bit. This is a circulation desk. We have a security guard up by the door, just to ensure, remind people to sanitize their hands before they come in, so if they touch anything. Then next we have the University of Hawaii at Manoa Law Library. So last year they implemented a seat reservation system. So if students wanted to come in and reserve a seat for studying, they could do that on their website. Inside, they put in a lot of work for directionals to show people where to go. They too have blocked off seating and certain areas to their collection, and closed their study rooms, and have put up sanitation stations. Currently, the law library is close to the students. Brian, did you want to say a little bit more about your situation?
So yes, that must have occurred right when we were opening just for bar exam review last year. We did that over the late spring break into the summer for the bar exam students. We discovered there weren't a lot that made use of it, maybe 12 at most at any given time, and some days you wouldn't find any. So since then, we implemented a pickup service. So people who wanted books could schedule to, if it was available, they could check it out for circulation purpose and then arrange a pickup time where they literally would just come to the door and it'd be handed off to them. Everything has changed. So what you showed right now still is how the library would look today if you came in. However, we are reopening to our students, just the students, not public or anyone else. We're lucky to have a after-hour card access system. We're going to open the library Monday through Friday, starting April 5th, for the students. And we'll go back to what you showed. We're going to go back to the seat reservation system. They need to reserve a seat, have a card to come in, and it'll just be during those hours. There'll be no night hours or no weekend hours for the foreseeable future, because we need to be open when we can have cleaning done. And our cleaning staff only works Monday through Friday.
Oh, thank you. That was good to know. Okay. Okay, next is Chaminade University. So I spoke to Lynette recently, and she said a lot of her, the things that she showed last year are very much the same this year's. So this is what they were, their setup was. So like everybody else, they had lots of signage about wearing your mask. Last year, they showed us a picture of their temperature station, which I thought was really cool. It was one of the first times I've ever seen that. But now today, you can kind of see them almost everywhere in the banks and some grocery stores where you just stand kind of close by and I'll take your temperature. They do morning cleanings, some of their staff, and they also had their own self cleaning stations. I thought that was really cool. They had like a lockbox for the Lysol, and they encourage students to help clean their areas. These are directional for traffic and physical distancing. Plexiglass for their circulation, pretty much the same like everybody else. They showed areas where they quarantine items, and they had a whole system about where if you were to pull something out and how long they'll quarantine for. Close down their lounge areas. Rearrange their space, the study spaces. So they did allow students to come in and sit and use the tables, but like they spaced them out. And use the computers too, but also spaced. So according to Lynette, their library was open the whole time during the pandemic. Faculty, including librarians, spent the entire summer in training to prepare for their fall semester when they went to face-to-face instruction. She said, we have allowed our students to sit at group tables, at study carrels, and use our group study rooms throughout this whole time, and they strategically moved their chairs and furniture to allow social distancing. Let's see. So she also said every morning, the circulation supervisor and herself help clean and disinfect areas around the library. And after that, they have disinfect wipes and they encourage their patrons to help clean. They did modify their hours a little bit. They're open 8:15 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And then no changes to their Friday, Saturday, and Sunday hours. They're open kind of late to 9 p.m. on Sunday, 4 p.m. on Saturday, and 6 p.m. on Friday. She says, what has worked to keep them safe is that we require everybody wear a mask at all times, have library staff and users disinfect their areas before and after use. They have signs reminding people to social distance, clean around them, and wash hands. Staff use gloves when handling items, and they disinfect or quarantine library items for at least 3 days. Yeah, that was Chaminade. Okay, up next is Lahaina. So Lahaina is different from a lot of other HSPLS branches. They're very small and they don't have AC. So they have these big windows, and they had a walk up. So when they weren't allowing people to come in, patrons can literally walk up to the window, and Larry, her LA staff, will hand them their books. And then because they have large windows, they can kind of display their books. So even though patrons can't browse and borrow, they could still see some of the materials that they have. So some of the revised spaces for Lahaina, like Lahaina, like Wahiawa actually, Lahaina's open. Patrons can now come in for 45 minutes and browse and borrow, that kind of stuff, same like us. So before COVID, Lahaina was very lucky. Their Maui friends paid for their this contactless checkout station. And so because of COVID, they've been encouraging more people to use this. Alina also implemented a bracelet system. So like when patrons came in, they would be given a bracelet, and the bracelet will signify what they're there for, either for copy, computer use, or browse and borrow. And then on the way out, they could just drop the bracelet off. She said she got this idea from when she had read an article about a beach in France, and they would do something similar to this, but I think they used like a flag. And then recently I watched the news, and I did see that some airlines are thinking of implementing something similar to this, like a bracelet system that probably signified whether or not they've been vaccinated or been tested. Up next.
If I'm wearing a bracelet for photocopy, I'm not allowed to go to the printer?
Sorry, I don't remember the whole her whole system, but I think it just allows the patron, the staff to know what their purpose is there for, or because then for us, when a patron goes to use a computer, we have to keep track of that they use the computer, and so when they get up, we have to go over and kind of tip the chair over, so it just needs to be cleaned. So because our library is larger than the Lahaina, we have an open space, so we can see where the computers have been used. But I think for her, maybe it's easy for her to keep track because it's a smaller library.
Well, someone asked, are the bracelets disposable?
I think they're plastic, and I think she got them from Amazon, and then it's easy because they're plastic. It's easy for them to clean and disinfect. Yeah. Okay. Up next is Kapiolani Community College. Joy, did you want to talk about your space? Yeah.
So we still keep these awful signs out here. I think it's a terrible barrier. Like people look at it and they're like, such a big barrier. Yeah. Yeah, we can go to the next one. Yeah. And then this is when you come in. So now we have a student assistant sitting there, and they will take your UHID. Okay, so some people come in without UHID, then we have to ask them to give us something like their email address, something that says they're UH student. And right now you can't see the pump there, but there's actually a hand sanitizer, but it's not there. I don't know why it's not there. Maybe we didn't have it that day. Yeah, so next this is our, where we check out books. It's still the same. People come up here and we hand them their laptops and so on. So one of the, I don't know whether it's a benefit of COVID cares or whatever, but we now have so many laptops to loan out, like so many. It's kind of embarrassing. And we also bought headsets and webcams, but those have not been popular. The laptops are going out. And so this is our reference desk. When the pandemic started, we thought we will continue to have reference desks, but we have never ever used it since then. This desk is empty. We don't use it at all. We don't have a reference desk at all. If anybody has a question, they have to go to the circulation desk. So we set up the big monitor thinking it will be like people will look at the monitor and we will be able to hide behind this glass and be safe. We are thinking in fall that we will open up the reference desk, but we don't know yet. This is still very, very empty. So all our periodicals are gone, so that people don't touch. So all the magazines are gone, and the book area is blocked off. Yes, this is the laptop. You know, these things take time, right? By the time they give the campus the money, by the time the campus said the library can spend the money, by the time we order the laptop, by the time we program the laptop, what it's like too late already.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the first week of semester. So we have a lot of laptops.
What kind of laptops did you guys buy?
Well, recently we bought more than 10, maybe 20 Macs.
Oh,
I know,
wow.
right?
Wow.
That's Dells. And then recently we bought those a smaller one. I want to say they're Surface, but maybe I'm not quite sure. But you know, it's smaller and maybe touch screen or something. But those
Wow.
came in together with the Mac. And well, we know we're already in March, but we've already gone past mid-semester, right? So
Did you have, someone is asking, did you have Chromebooks? And also, how does the borrowing laptops and headsets work for the students who are enrolled?
So how does borrowing, anybody can borrow. So even if you already have one, I hope you can borrow one for your kid. It's okay. Headsets, you know, the reason why we bought the webcam and the headset was because some of our older laptops didn't have a camera. And so that's why we had that. And headsets, because sometimes in the library, people are doing their Zoom classes and our computer, not the laptop, right? The computer lab, they program not to have like sound so that you don't, during normal semester, you don't want to make too much noise so that, you know, people around you just like cannot focus, right? So that's why we had to have headsets. So that's what those headsets are for. I'm just looking at somebody wants to switch out your loaner. Yes, we've had people do that. Like they borrow a laptop, they didn't like it, they bring it back and a newer one. No, I do not loan out to, yes, sorry, we do loan out to all UH people. So we've had people coming from like UH Manoa, one from UH West Oahu, but usually those are people who were at KCC before. That's how they know about it. It's not something we advertise on our social media and say, all UH people can borrow our laptop. What other questions we have? Yeah, okay. So those are laptops. We can do the next one. Oh, so here's the close-up of the you see the big tub with the pump. Yeah, we got that. There is a sign there, keep your distance. So the sign in, obviously you have to limit. So we put a limit up there, you see 35, but we never reached 35. Last fall towards finals, there were like maybe 20 people at one time. But even when we were at 25, we never hit 25. So anyway, we changed it to 35. And then Allison did one of these Google counters, so we can see how many people are in the library at any time. Because we don't go around counting heads, right? It's going to be difficult. Yeah.
How does that work? The counter, like it just they count people that walk past?
No, so when you sign in, right, it's a Google form.
Oh, okay.
And then that Google form feeds into, I can show you what it looks like. Actually, Joyce just did one for us for, yeah, I can show you what it looks like after Zipa. Yeah, but we've never hit that limit because I think that the people that come to use our library is very different from a public library. Our people come to the library to get quiet because they can't study at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not here to socialize. They're just here to study. Yeah. Okay, next one. And so this is what it is right now. It's like you see two people in this whole block of area with so many tables. It's one person per table. You can see a little sign on each table saying, you know, 6 feet apart, wear your mask. And so it's never been crowded. Yeah, we can go to the
Okay.
next slide. And this is our computer lab, which is like hardly used. Like people don't even like how many like this the day that I took this photo, only one person was using it, and we have like 50 computers, right? Yeah. And over here where this guy is printing, I didn't take a very good picture because I didn't want to take his face, but on his right hand side you can see there's a brown box. Ellison used to put disposable gloves there. They did disappear quite quickly. So we stopped
I couldn't
putting.
imagine.
Oh, why do you want disposable gloves? Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Then next to it, you see how there is a what you call that thing where you the wipes, the sanitizing wipes. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's at all like places where people are gonna be touching the keyboard or something. I couldn't take a photo. I don't know, maybe I forgot. Was that our keyboard has a plastic cover on it?
Oh, yeah, we've got those too. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, if you think about it, I don't know if students wipe the keyboard first and then they start putting in their to release the printing job. Maybe I don't know. It's not like I have enough time a day to watch everyone do that. Yeah. So our philosophy is we put out all these cleaning things, and it's totally up to the students. If they want to wipe, they wipe.
Interesting.
If they don't want to wipe, yeah.
That's on them. That's such an interesting perspective where you put the onus on the user to ensure that they're cleaning, their area is sanitized rather than the
Yeah.
staff. Like from a, well, obviously we have different types of patrons, but we after a patron uses a computer or you know high touch spaces, we wipe the staff, just wipe down everything, even the plastic on the keyboards, we do that too. Yeah.
We do have the cleaning crew come in once a day every morning at about 10 o'clock. And then they wipe everything. And sometimes I think it's such a waste of time. Like I tell them, don't wipe the reference desk because no one's using it, you know. And even when they wipe down the table, it's only good until the next person comes and sit on it. So I'm not sure that we like even need the cleaning crew to come in and do the wipe down every day, but I think maybe they have not a lot of work to do, so that's why they're hanging out in the library campus.
All right, we've got about like 15 minutes more left, and we want to open this portion up to a discussion. We can talk about what will future library spaces look like. Will you continue, those of you who whose library spaces we shared, do you think that some of the things that we've implemented over this pandemic time will still continue? Do you think it'll be different? Do you think more patrons will come back? Less patrons will come back? And we could also ask questions about your spaces. We can put it in the chat. Let's see. Okay, so we got one question. Oh, more of a comment. Jen says, I think that is ideal. Only worry would be someone using excess supplies. I think, yeah, I had that thought too. Or maybe stealing cleaning supplies. I'm guessing that's why we don't do that at our branch. Yeah, some people go a little crazy, especially in my branch. We have this one patron who goes crazy on the hand sanitizer. He kind of uses too much. So Joy, Michael, and Brian, what are your guys' thoughts of your thoughts or staff feedback about patrons coming in, staying long period of time? Obviously, for us, we don't at public libraries, we don't have anybody staying for a long period of time. Longest time a patron can stay in our library is 45 minutes. Now that with everything's open more, you know, we're gonna have to open more as well. I know some staff are a little apprehensive or a little scared of the idea of people sitting for a long period of time.
I'm curious what BYU or KCC is doing, but we, of course, at the law library, That's why we have reserved seats. They can use that seat the entire time they're there, because the understanding it's only their seat. They can't sit anywhere else. No one else can sit there while it's there, and it'll be cleaned when they're done. So that's kind of our concept, but then we can only have 80 some people, because that's how many seats we have, and we haven't filled that yet, so we're probably going to be okay.
Yeah, we're kind of similar. I've seen students in the library for 4, 5, 6 hours at a time in the same seat at the same table. We do also have them cleaning supplies available if they want to clean up after there or before they begin. If they don't trust that our staff is doing it, they can do it themselves. But we haven't had a problem with hitting capacity yet. We can fit about 240 right now in the building, but we rarely get over 100.
Michael, do you close off some areas in your library? Like we close off our upstairs, but even our downstairs is never filled.
Yeah, we don't have, I mean, the public areas in the main library are kind of closed. There are some areas like archives and Pacific Islands Research Room that are pretty much by appointment only. So you can't go in those areas and camp out and study or work. But the other areas with the tables and the carols have been open.
Interesting. Do you think like Brian, for like your seat reservation, do you think you guys will keep that for a long period of time? Do you think that's something that the library will hold on to in the future?
So we're going to use it for the foreseeable future. I don't know at what point we will decide not to use it, either when we realize we can lessen the restrictions a little, or maybe we're in tier 4, or the pandemic is considered herd immunity. I don't know. It hasn't been decided what the procedure will be that will kick us out of the seat reservations. But I was just posting, not to change the subject, but I was just posting because I read someone about, I think I read somebody posted that they wanted, Stephanie said that her students patrol and staff to make sure everyone's following the rules. We're actually having the opposite discussion. Our director says she doesn't feel it's in anyone's duties to enforce rules. So we're a little unclear as to how we're going to do that and what the rules are. Like, for instance, of course, mask wearing, sanitizing your stations, remaining in your seat, not anyone else's seats. It's not clear. A lot of our staff and students don't want to be the one to enforce those rules. So we're having a discussion about that. It's still being determined.
Yeah, that's sort of yeah, that's same here. We become like the police, actually, mask police. You know, you put less effort on like helping patrons find the book and more like, are they wearing the mask? Do they sanitize their hands? So that's interesting that you guys are saying like, yeah, you don't need to.
Well, I mean, the patrols are out there primarily looking at mask wearing and making sure there's not more than, the social distancing requirements. That's it. If they want to worry about, we don't check that they're wiping down every time or anything like that, but it's a campus mandate for us, the mask wearing. So that's how we're being told to kind of enforce it. And most 98% of our students, it's not a problem.
That's good.
Annie made a comment that I want to encourage everyone to read the instructions on hand sanitizer and cleaning products. You need a lot of hand sanitizer and cleaning products required, or a lot of hand sanitizer and cleaning products require you to keep the surface wet with product for a few minutes. Simple wiping does not sanitize. And that's a good point too, because I guess, a regular patron might not always know the rules. If we had to buy, off-brand cleaning products, they might not know how to use those off-brand products.
I think it's all like psychological because, yeah, I see people use the wet ones and then they get a dry paper towel and then they wipe over the wet one. And I'm like, oh, but I'm not going to say anything because I'm not there to give a lecture. And same thing about people not keeping distance. So we have some librarians or some staff in our library that want us to go and like police it. And I said, no. it's like these are adults. If they want to come with a friend and they're sitting next to each other, I don't know if they're family members. You know, it's not my job to question them, but I do put a sign there in front of them and say 6 feet apart. Up to you whether or not you want to follow 6 feet apart. You know, we're not police. But if you want to see that dashboard I was talking about, if you let me share screen, I can show you. Yeah.
Sure. I'll make you the co-host. And then, okay, I think you should be able to share screen.
Still not letting me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wonder why I'm co-host. Oh, I think it could be something in your original setting of the. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I know what. I have to stop you from sharing.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
So guys, can you see my screen now? So you see how it has, this is the total number check-in today, 21. 8 of them have stepped out. So now we only have 13 people in the library.
That's so cool.
It's
yeah.
At the bottom here is all their names. I cropped that out so that you can't see it. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing screen now.
So Joy, that was just an internal count, like people could see.
It's a Google product.
Okay.
Free.
Do you let patrons know how much people are in so they can see time? No, you don't.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we never had to say to people, oh, we are already at 35, you can't come in. We've never had to say.
Yeah, same here. Our total max amount is 15, and we've never on a good day probably 10. Got a question here from Jay Beaker. What's the Google product called? He missed it.
Yeah, give me a minute to find it. Yeah.
While Joy's looking that up, I just want to share that I was doing a little of my own research on what other I'm interested to see what libraries in other states, especially states that are kind of relaxed on the mask mandates, or like so Florida and Texas. And surprisingly, for Florida, I looked at a couple of public library systems there, and a lot of them are still doing curbside pickup. And there may be a few branches that allow people to come in to make copies, use the computer, but a lot of them, even though their state says, mask is no longer required, they still require patrons to use a mask when they come in. And Texas, I think they recently did away with their mask mandates, and a lot of their public branches, you still have to wear a mask, and they're still doing curbside. So it's very interesting to learn that there are some public library systems that are allowing patrons to come in, especially for public libraries. I think it's the Denver Public Library System. They allow people to come in to browse and borrow, to use the computer, and to sit. I think there's a few branches that will close down for like an hour for cleaning, but for the most part, they're just open. I think Nebraska also does that. They're open. I think they're limited hours, but they're letting people come in and browse and borrow and sit. I've got some questions here. Are UH libraries encouraging use of Lumi Site UH before campus students use the library?
I'm the one that asked that.
Do
I need to explain that a little? That's an app that I know we're using here at Manoa for staff when they come in, before they come in. It just checks you. It asks those questions. Do you have a fever? Do you have any symptoms?
Oh, okay.
If you say yeah, and yes to any of them, it basically says don't come in today. That's all it does. I mean, it can't stop you, right? But if it says no, it says come on in, and it keeps track of how many people have done that. And I'm just curious if anyone else is making use of that for their patrons.
Does anybody? No. Choice.
We talked about it. It's like we said, what if the person lie? I have a fever, but I say no, right? And then we can't insist that they show it to us that they did it, because there's a whole lot of issue like, and it's just one more thing for us to do. So we decided that they are adults. If they answered that and they are certain they're not sick and they want to come, then they can come. And the funny thing is, I want to say not a lot of people are using it to come to campus. I'm just talking in general, like faculty or staff, whatever. It's not a lot of people using it. Because at one stage, I also know that we had, because I was running the Google Sheet for people to check in before we had Lumicide. So if you were a staff or faculty, you had to go to this Google form and put in, you just put your name and it automatically say that you're checking, it has a time, and then when you leave, you just put your name, and then of course it will check you out, and then I can see who's here and who's not here. And you'll be amazed how many people either check in and didn't check out, or check up but never checked it. So it was like a useless tool. So yeah, we feel that Lumicide is something like that too.
Ralph Toyama says that they're requiring Lumicide at LCC. So it's good. Shelly Brown, you've got a question?
It's a requirement for the campus. In order to even come on the campus, you have to have the Lumicide health check app. And so to that end, we require any students that want to physically use the library also have to show it to us that they've done it.
Okay, that's good to know. Shelly, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I
Go
wanted
ahead.
to comment on this idea about us policing or encouraging or enforcing social distancing, mask wearing, etc. I think we do have to kind of be police at this point just to create a safer environment. I know for a fact that wearing a mask reduces people's exposure to aerosols. So I also go to the gym where nobody there enforces it. 1 out of 5 aren't wearing their mask properly. I'm not going to enforce it there. I feel like that's the risk I take. And I wish the staff at 24 Hour Fitness would do it, or, other restaurants. But I think we are discouraging our users if we don't set the tone for, COVID protocols.
Yeah, that's it's true. I think sometimes some people may feel a little apprehensive because I think librarians in general are very confrontational. And sometimes with mask wearing, it can be a little bit testy, just because some people get a little they may feel a little like you're picking on me kind of attitude. So it can, when I approach somebody, if they're not wearing their mask, you just say like politely, like, oh, do you mind putting your mask up? There are a few times where I had to be not very, but aggressive. I mean, like, put your mask up. But working for the public, and depending on which branch you work in, it kind of comes with the territory and the type of patrons you see on the regular basis. So I don't have a problem saying, put your mask up, especially in the library, because I'm the manager here. But like, if I were to go to a 24 hours, as just a regular person, I wouldn't. I'd feel a little weird. And I agree with you, Shelly. It should be the workers to tell somebody.
I think along with that, Sharrese, it's the environment. Our whole campus has made mask wearing and distancing a priority. We've made campus-wide testing a priority. So it's becoming ingrained in our campus culture here.
Oh, true.
If you don't have that culture as a background, that makes it really hard to be the only place around enforcing it. But on campus, we're not. So that makes it a little bit different for us than maybe for a public library who's caught out is the only place in town maybe enforcing it or something. It's a little bit different of a context to enforce it as well.
True.
Yeah, Annie made a comment. She said, yes, as a user, I expect staff to tell others to wear a mask. I, as a user, shouldn't have to tell other users. And I think also Stephanie had her hand up. Do you want to say last comments before we close up?
Yeah,
I know
go ahead.
Briefly, I want to say the policing, the patrolling, it all sounds so like we're going to hit them over the head or something. But truthfully, we just have a really organized, schedule where we have lots of student workers. It gives them something to do. They just walk around, and if they see someone, we just teach them to go like kind of point to the nose, so they pull it back up, and then they go on, and they're not confrontational. If they see a repeated person, then they get you know, one of the librarians to maybe say, hey, you know, if you don't want to wear your mask, you need to go, you know. And so it's friendly, and I understand, yeah, it can be uncomfortable, but we try to keep it friendly.
Yeah, I agree. You have to be, you know, approach it kind of in a friendly manner. Before we finish up, I just want to share a really funny story. A couple of weeks ago, we had a patron, and we weren't really busy, but he wanted to use the computer, and you know, you have to wear a mask even at the computer. And my staff noticed that he kept pulling it down, and so she approached him. It was like, you know, he was a younger guy, and she was like, "You have to wear a mask," and he's like, "I can't wear a mask when I'm reading." That was probably the funniest. Like, you know, you hear so many excuses why you can't wear a mask, but that one was probably the funniest. Like, he couldn't wear a mask when he's reading. Yeah. Anyways. Okay.
But that's a good point, Sharrese. I mean, we have actually made exceptions to the mask policy. If students come in taking the GMAT, for example, they won't it's a proctored exam. They won't let you wear a mask while you're taking it remotely. So we have to put them in a group study room, put a sign up that says testing in progress, mask, you know, don't worry about the mask kind of thing, and then just clean it afterwards is really what we do. So you do have to sometimes think it through and make exceptions like that for our students and those.
This patron was able to wear a mask and read a little bit. He just wanted, you know, he just wanted to, you know.
Well, anyway, thank you for sharing that funny story, and we'll end it on that. Sorry, we're a little bit over time, but this concludes our program for today. Thank you for joining us for this month's Next Step program. Next month's program will be a continuation of learning about Canva from our January session with Erica Diaz. It'll be on April 22nd at 12 p.m. Also, please join us for our celebration of National Library Workers Day on April 6th at 12 p.m. with William Odens, a librarian, author of Librarian Tales and the social media feed Librarian Problems. Today's program is made possible through HLA members like you. To join or to continue to support HLA, check out our social media. Have a great rest of your day, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.